Folktales TV, the home of timeless stories and hidden wisdom. Like, share, and subscribe. Let's dive into the story for today. She thought a new body would change her life, that one surgery would finally make her feel seen, admired, unstoppable. But what Chioma found in Turkey was not beauty, it was pain, silence, and a kind of fear that still wakes her up at night. They called her Coco, the Lagos girl with dreams too expensive for her bank account, and a body that never matched her ambitions. Coco stood at Murtala Muhammad International Airport, wrapped in a light pink tracksuit that hugged every curve she already had. Her blonde wig shimmered under the fluorescent lights as she adjusted her sunglasses and scrolled through her phone screen. Her flight to Istanbul was boarding in less than 30 minutes. Every post she saw on Instagram that morning had something to do with perfection, perfect skin, perfect bodies, perfect lives. It wasn't even jealousy anymore, it was hunger. Hunger for validation. Hunger for the kind of beauty that opened doors before you even knocked. She looked at her reflection in the glass wall beside the boarding gate. Her face was beautiful, undeniably Nigerian, with that fierce glow Lagos women were known for. But she still saw flaws. Her hips weren't wide enough, her bum wasn't round enough, her waist didn't snatch tight enough. And she hated that she noticed. Behind her, a few men whispered. One pointed discreetly. "Now this one go come back with new yanch," he said with a grin. She pretended not to hear, clutching her boarding pass tighter. 4 months, she'd been planning this trip, saving, borrowing, lying, and even pretending she was flying for a business deal. Only her best friend, Vanessa, knew the truth. Vanessa had done hers the previous year in Turkey and came back looking like a different person, confident, curvy, adored. Brands started messaging her. Clubs gave her free tables. Men that used to ignore her now offered vacations. Coco wanted that. She wanted her life to start too. She took a deep breath, whispered, "It's my time," and walked toward the gate. Hours later, the plane hummed softly as it floated over the Mediterranean. Coco sat by the window, staring into the dark blue sky, her heart fluttering with a mix of excitement and fear. She imagined her after photos, standing in front of a mirror, wrapped in a silk robe, curves perfect, waist tiny, her name trending on TikTok with captions like, "Coco the new body goddess." But beneath the fantasy was a small voice that whispered, "What if something goes wrong?" She brushed it off. Nothing would go wrong. She had chosen one of the best clinics in Istanbul, or so the Instagram page said. The doctor's page had over 50,000 followers, and all the comments were filled with heart emojis and praises from Nigerian girls. That was enough proof, right? She leaned back and closed her eyes. Sleep came in short bursts, dreams of cameras, laughter, and bright lights. Coco's story didn't begin at the airport. It began in Surulere, Lagos, in a small one-bedroom apartment she shared with her cousin after moving out of her parents' house. Back then she was just Chioma, a 24-year-old makeup artist trying to make ends meet. She was good at what she did, but good didn't pay. Not in Lagos, where flash often mattered more than skill. Every day, she saw other girls post soft life pictures. Designer bags, Dubai trips, champagne brunches. Some of those girls were her former schoolmates, girls who once borrowed her textbooks, who now posted from yachts. She didn't understand it at first. Then she started noticing patterns, older men, coded captions, sudden business trips. Still, Chioma told herself she wouldn't fall into that trap. She'd make it the right way. Until she met Tony. Tony was charming, rich, and dangerously smooth. He came into her life like an answered prayer. He called her baby girl, tipped her generously whenever she did makeup for his friends' wives, and introduced her to parties she never thought she'd attend. That was where the transformation began. New clothes, new hair, new name. Chioma is too local, Tony teased one day. You look like a Coco. Fresh, sweet, foreign. She laughed. But she liked how it sounded. Tony didn't stay long. Like most Lagos men with money, he vanished after a few months, leaving her with broken promises and half-paid rent. But by then, Coco had tasted that world. The lights, the validation, the power of being desired. She couldn't go back. In Istanbul, the air smelled different, colder, distant. She dragged her suitcase out of the airport, squinting at the crowd of taxi drivers holding signs. One held a placard that read, Miss Coco, Istanbul Medical Aesthetic Center. She smiled weakly and waved. The man, short and bearded, nodded and took her bag. The drive to the clinic was quiet. She watched the city flash by, tall glass buildings, foreign billboards, clean roads. Everything looked expensive. She felt like she'd finally made it somewhere her past couldn't follow. At the clinic, a slim woman in a white coat greeted her. Welcome, Miss Coco. You come for body contouring, yes? Yes, the Brazilian butt lift, she replied, trying to sound confident. Good. You pay balance tomorrow after test. You rest tonight? Coco nodded. The nurse led her to a small hotel-like room with white sheets and a TV she didn't turn on. That night, she scrolled through Instagram again. Vanessa had sent a message. Babe, you made it. Just relax. The first few days after surgery are hell-sha, but it's worth it. Coco smiled nervously. It's worth it, she whispered, placing a hand on her waist. It has to be. She didn't know that by morning, her life would start slipping away, one syringe at a time. The next day came with needles, forms, and confusion. The clinic felt clean but oddly cold, not in temperature, in energy. The staff smiled, but their eyes didn't. A translator helped her sign consent forms she barely understood. Medical jargon filled every line. She hesitated once, asking, So, I'll be safe, right? The translator nodded mechanically. Very safe. Doctor number 1 in Istanbul. That reassurance was enough to quiet her nerves. They shaved parts of her body, marked her skin with blue ink, and told her to fast for 6 hours. As she lay on the surgical table, she whispered a prayer under her breath. When the anesthesia mask came down, she felt the world blur. The last thing she remembered was a nurse saying, Sweet dreams, Miss Coco. She woke up to hell. Her body was on fire. Her throat burned. Tubes ran from her arms, and her chest felt heavy, as if an elephant sat on it. Doctor, she croaked weakly. But her voice came out small. A nurse appeared, smiled tightly, and said something she couldn't understand. She tried to move, but pain stabbed through her lower back. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Hours passed. The world felt far away. When the doctor finally came, he smiled for 2 seconds, then said something about normal pain and good results. Coco nodded weakly. But when she lifted the blanket and saw the bandages soaked in blood, she knew something was wrong. She called out again and again. Nobody came. It wasn't until night that another nurse entered, adjusted her and said, Tomorrow you okay. Sleep. But Coco didn't sleep. She couldn't. Every time she closed her eyes, her body screamed. Back in Lagos, Vanessa was live on Instagram, dancing to Afrobeats with her new body in a tight jumpsuit. Comments flooded in, Body goals. Turkey did you well. Where did you do yours? Coco had seen videos like that before her trip. She used to imagine herself in them. But now, lying helpless in a foreign hospital bed, All she could imagine was surviving. By day 3, things got worse. Her legs were swollen, her stomach felt tight, and she could barely breathe. When she told the nurse, they said it was just swelling. She begged them to call a doctor. They said, "Doctor busy." She cried until she passed out. When she woke again, her sheets were stained. Blood. Not from a small wound, from inside. Panic clawed her chest. She screamed, but her voice cracked like glass. That was when another patient in the next room, a Ghanaian woman, stumbled in, eyes wide with fear. "Girl, you have to tell someone. They don't care. My friend almost died here last week." Coco's eyes widened. "What do you mean?" The woman whispered, "They use fake anesthesia. Cheap fillers. You think it's real fat transfer? It's not. Some girls never wake up." Coco froze. The words rang in her head. Never wake up. That night she prayed again, not for beauty, but for mercy. 5 days later she was discharged. The clinic called her recovery excellent. But her wounds were still bleeding. She was told to wear her compression garment tightly and return for a checkup in 2 weeks. She left the clinic dizzy and pale, holding her stomach as she entered the taxi. At her hotel, she fainted in the shower. When she woke, she was in a different hospital, a real one this time. She didn't remember how she got there. A Turkish nurse said a hotel worker found her unconscious. The doctors spoke to her in fragments. Infection, wrong injection, need drainage. She cried silently as they cleaned her wounds. Each motion burned. When they placed a mirror in front of her days later, she almost didn't recognize herself. Her body was swollen in strange places, uneven, scarred. Her skin near her hips was darkened. Her stomach looked stitched and bruised. She screamed. The nurse closed the mirror gently and said, "You alive. That is what matters." But Coco didn't feel alive. She felt empty. Back home in Lagos, Vanessa and her friends posted another night out video. They wore tight dresses, their laughter echoing under neon lights. One of them asked, "When is Coco coming back?" Vanessa shrugged. She said soon. Probably still healing. You know these things take time. None of them knew that Coco was staring at the ceiling of a hospital in Istanbul, counting the days till she could afford to go home, not as Coco the Slay Queen, but as Chioma, the girl who just wanted her life back. Coco returned to Lagos 3 weeks later. She didn't tell anyone the real date of her arrival. Her cousin thought she was still abroad. Vanessa kept texting, "Babe, send new pics na. You're hiding the new body." But Coco didn't want to be seen. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Her flight landed late at night. The air smelled humid and heavy, the familiar Lagos air that once meant home. Now it felt like judgment. Every billboard, every bright face on the street, reminded her of what she went there to chase, and what she lost instead. At the baggage claim, she moved slowly, clutching her small suitcase to her chest. Her waist still ached beneath the compression garment she wore under a loose black hoodie. She could feel the unevenness of her skin, the strange texture of scar tissue under her hands. When she caught her reflection in the airport glass, she looked away immediately. Outside, the noise hit her like thunder, taxi drivers shouting, horns blaring, hawkers calling. The chaos she used to love now felt like a swarm. She called an Uber quietly and waited alone in the corner. The driver looked at her through the mirror as they drove off. "You just come back from abroad?" She nodded. "Yes." He smiled. "Welcome, madam. You people with money, you go and come back fresh. I like that." Coco forced a smile. If only he knew. Her cousin, Amara, opened the door with surprise. "Chioma, You didn't tell me you were coming back today. Coco managed a weak laugh. I wanted to surprise you. Amara hugged her gently, but when she felt Coco's stiff body, she frowned. You okay? Just tired from the flight. Coco slipped into her old room, small, warm, and dimly lit. It smelled like the life she left behind. The mirror on the wall caught her reflection again, and this time she forced herself to look. Her body wasn't the one she dreamed of. It wasn't the one from the Instagram posts. One hip sat higher than the other. Her skin had dark patches, her waist uneven. The surgery wounds were healing badly, raised, angry scars that stretched across her lower back. She removed her compression garment and stared in silence. For the first time, she didn't cry. She just stood there, numb, breathing in and out, waiting for the person in the mirror to explain how things went so wrong. Days turned into weeks. Coco stayed indoors. She told people she was still recovering from her trip. She deleted half her photos on Instagram and turned off comments. The DMs from men stopped. The brand offers stopped. The only message that came regularly was from Vanessa, cheerful, relentless. Girl, when are we going out? Your followers are waiting for you. Oh. I hope your doctor gave you that hourglass shape. Coco typed replies, then deleted them. Sometimes she would type, it's not what you think. I almost died, but she'd stop herself. Nobody wanted to hear about pain. They only wanted before and after pictures. At night, she couldn't sleep. Her body ached. The scars itched. But worse than the pain were the dreams. She'd wake up gasping, remembering the white walls of that clinic, the cold faces, the blood. Sometimes she heard the voice of the Ghanaian woman whispering, "Some girls never wake up." Other nights, she'd dream she was still under anesthesia, frozen, screaming silently while the doctors kept cutting. One night, she sat up and whispered, "God, why didn't I just love myself?" Her words echoed into the darkness. Eventually, Vanessa insisted on visiting. I'm coming this weekend, no excuses. Coco panicked. She hadn't seen anyone since her return. She wore oversized clothes and long wigs to cover the damage, but nothing could hide the way her confidence had collapsed. When Vanessa arrived, she burst in with her usual energy, full lashes, tight dress, the scent of luxury perfume filling the air. "Babe," she screamed, hugging Coco. "Ah, you're hiding. Where's my fine babe now? Let me see your new shape." Coco stepped back. "Vanessa, please." Vanessa laughed, grabbing her hand. "Stop forming. Let's see small na." Coco sighed, lifted her hoodie slightly. The smile on Vanessa's face faded. "Wait, what happened?" Coco looked down. "It didn't go well." Vanessa blinked. "As in?" Coco sat down. Her voice was small. "I had complications. Infection. I almost died." Vanessa's mouth fell open. For the first time, she was speechless. "I spent almost 2 weeks in the hospital," Coco continued quietly. "They said they used wrong injections. My body rejected part of it." Vanessa covered her mouth, tears forming. "Jesus. Coco, why didn't you tell me? What would I say? That I flew to Turkey to buy confidence and came back with scars?" The silence hung heavy between them. That night, Vanessa stayed over. For hours, they talked about the pressure, the fake posts, the silent competition that had turned social media into a battlefield. "I remember when you used to be happy just doing makeup," Vanessa said softly. "We all started chasing something we couldn't even define." Coco looked away. "Do you regret yours?" Vanessa hesitated. "Sometimes. The attention is nice, but it never stops. It's like you always need to do more to stay noticed. I don't even know who I am anymore without filters. Coco nodded slowly. I just want peace. But peace didn't come easily. Weeks later, Coco tried going out. She dressed up, put on makeup, and joined Vanessa at a lounge in Lekki. The music was loud, the lights dim, but she could feel the eyes. Some admiring, some judging. One guy whispered to his friend, "That one no balance. Her yansh looks somehow." The words hit her like a slap. She forced a smile, pretending not to hear. But that night when she got home, she tore off her clothes and broke down. Every insult replayed in her mind, every whisper, every side glance. The same society that pushed her to chase perfection was now mocking her for trying. Months passed. The scars healed, but the shame didn't. Coco stopped going out. Her savings were gone, her clients drifted away, and she barely touched her phone. But one morning, something shifted. Coco began to feel a strange, burning pain in her side. At first, she blamed it on her healing scars. But soon she couldn't climb the stairs without gasping for air. Her cousin, Amar, forced her to go to a private hospital in Lagos. She sat in the examination room, her face pale, her hands trembling. The doctor ordered scans and blood work. Hours passed before he returned, holding a folder, his expression unreadable. "Miss Chioma," he said carefully, "there's something you need to see." He turned the screen toward her. "This is your abdominal scan. Your left kidney is gone." Her eyes widened. "Gone? What do you mean gone?" "It's not there," the doctor replied softly. "It was surgically removed. And your right kidney, it's failing." Coco felt the ground tilt beneath her. "That's not possible. I only did cosmetic surgery." The doctor sighed deeply. "Whatever clinic operated on you didn't just perform cosmetic work. We've seen a few similar cases lately, women returning from private beauty centers abroad with missing organs. I'm afraid you're one of them." Her lips trembled. "So they stole it?" He didn't answer immediately. Then quietly, "Yes." The words shattered her. Images from that clinic flooded back. The dim corridors, the strange silence at night, the patients who never came back after routine checkups. She remembered the Ghanaian woman's trembling voice. "Some girls never wake up." Now she understood why. Her head spun. "You said my other kidney is failing. What does that mean?" The doctor hesitated before replying. "You'll need dialysis 3 times a week. Even then, without a transplant, you may have 2 months at most." 2 months. The words echoed in her skull like a verdict. When she got home, Amar tried to talk to her, but Coco shut herself in her room. She sat by the mirror, staring at the faint scar near her waist, the place they had stolen her life. She remembered how proud she had been booking that flight, telling everyone she was flying out for her dream body. How she had smiled at the camera in the airport, believing she was heading toward a better version of herself. Now, every reflection was a reminder of the price she paid for vanity, a perfect body that hid a dying soul. Days turned into weeks. She grew thinner. Her skin dulled. Her laughter disappeared. At night she lay awake, her hand pressed against her side, whispering, "Why did I do it? Why did I let them cut me?" Her friends stopped calling. Vanessa tried to visit, but Coco couldn't bear to see her. The humiliation, the pain, the betrayal were too much. She wrote letters sometimes, to her younger self, to her mother, even to God. In one of them she wrote, "They said beauty would open doors. But all it opened was the grave." By the end of her 2nd month, she could barely stand. Her eyes were hollow, her breath shallow. On her final night, She sat by the window, the city lights blurring through her tears. She whispered one last time, "God, please forgive me." And as the first light of morning touched her face, Coco, the girl who once lived for the camera, slipped quietly into the kind of silence no filter could hide.